begin your embroidered earrings, you're going to start by tracing a heart shape, or you could simply draw a heart shape. When I trace a heart shape, I'm only tracing half of the heart. And the reason behind that is because I'm now going to cut out the fabric into a square shape, fold the fabric in half, and cut on half of my heart shape. Why am I doing that? Well, because I can never seem to get a heart drawn, traced, or cut out perfectly symmetrical. But if I fold the fabric in half and then cut it out that way, then it ends up perfectly symmetrical. I'm not like whatever OCD about some things, but that for some reason would make my eye twitch. I did the same thing to a different color and again, folded it in half and then cut it out because I want my little candy hearts to look three-dimensional. So I'm cutting out two different colors and then separating them a little bit and moving them off to the side. So it kind of gives it that three-dimensional vibe. I didn't want the earrings to be the same. I wanted them to be kind of mismatched. So that's why I did one different from the other. Okay, now I'm ready to start stitching. You might want to pin the hearts together. I didn't. I just held it by hand. And I'm using embroidery floss that I cut to about the length of 12 inches. Embroidery floss is made out of 6 different strands. So you'll want to separate 2 strands from the 6. And when you do this, you're going to pull the bottom string. Do you see how I'm kind of pulling on the bottom? Doing that as you separate the strings will really prevent the string from tangling up. Embroidery floss is world famous for tangling up, and it is such an epic nightmare. When you've got your needle threaded, and I'm using a chenille needle that has about an 18 size chenille needle that has a nice big hole and it's super sharp and pointy, go ahead and tie a knot on the end, and let's start doing something called a back stitch. A back stitch is when you make a stitch, and I usually make my stitches about 1/4 inch in length. Then you're going to jump forward a little bit. As you see, my needle is very slowly poking out. And then I take the stitch back, hence the name back stitch. Why am I doing a back stitch? Well, you could do a running stitch. I just wanted a solid line around my heart. So once again, I'm jumping forward and then bringing the stitch back, giving it the name again, back stitch. I feel like I just said that. That's because you just did. I'm having a conversation with myself, which is highly unengaging. So yeah, that's what you're going to do. You're going to make this back stitch and go all the way around, and then you're going to stop when your thread and needle are about as long as your hand. Flip that bad boy over and let's tie a knot. Go underneath your last stitch like that, then pull your needle away. But before you do, go back and go inside the loop that was slowly closing. Do that twice, go back inside the loop, and now you have just secured yourself a knot. Make sure to do that on the back side before you snip. And now I'm going to go super duper fast and do that running stitch. Back stitch all the way around. In case you're wondering, what's the difference between a back stitch and a running stitch? Well, a running stitch looks like a dotted or a dashed line, whereas a back stitch is a solid line. I went ahead and did that back stitch around the heart, and then I also did it on the what we'll call the shadow of the heart, but only on the side because I was too lazy to do it on the top. Then I decided to do the words on my candy heart. I decided to use an ink pen to draw the words with, and I drew super lightly, like you're thinking, I can't even see that. Yeah, it's just enough to kind of give me the idea for the spacing and the size of the letters. And I'm speeding up here because I'm once again doing that back stitch. And the reason I use the ink pen is because it created a fine enough line that I could still see it, but then hopefully be able to stitch over it so you can't see my ink pen lines. When you're stitching something that's round, like this O for love, you've got to do a lot of stitches because you're breaking the stitch down enough to kind of create a nice even curve. If you only use a couple of stitches, it's going to look a little bit boxy, which could be cool if that's the look you're going for. But I wanted it to look more of a round kind of O, so I was doing these small stitches. It was a little time consuming, but not that bad. I mean, the great thing about embroidering earrings, and I have quite a few of these videos right here on my YouTube channel, is because it's small. And by the time that you're just like over it, then you're done with your earring and it's great. The other thing I love about embroidered earrings is they are the lightest weight earrings of all. I love wearing really big, bold, I guess they call them statement earrings. I love wearing those, but usually they're so heavy on my earlobes. These guys are great. They're like feathers. You don't even realize they're there. So yeah, when you're stitching a straight line like this, you can make your stitches a little bit bigger. And the reason I held my thread over like that was to kind of show myself the direction that I wanted to go in. And again, just doing that back stitch. much. Okay, I think you probably have the idea. A couple of other words that I stitch on mine. I did one earring was an XOXO, the other one was you're cute, and another one was be mine. I did 2 sets of these candy heart earrings. Any color of felt would work. Think about all the different colors that candy hearts are, and then you have tons of colors to choose from for your candy heart earrings. All right, let's talk about what you'll need to turn these into some earrings. You're going to need a jump ring, just one, and that's what I'm going to anchor first. So begin in the back, of course, so that your needle or your knot ends up there. Poke your needle through and then slide your jump ring down. And then I'd like to hold the jump ring in place, and I'm just going to do a couple of stitches that are called whip stitches. They whip around the edge of the earring. I'm going through that jump ring probably about 3 times to really keep it secured in place. Once I've done that, then I'm going to anchor it on the back with a knot the same way I have been doing. Go underneath the last stitch, pull it, and then reverse the needle and go through the loop. Do that twice because one's probably not going to be strong enough. Then when you're finished with that, your jump ring has a little opening to it, so you can just kind of separate it. You don't have to use tools. It just helps to be able to pinch something so small, but you could easily do this with your fingers, but you're going to pull the jump ring apart. And then you're going to slide your earring. I'm using a French hook earring right down there. And then you're going to close it back up. Now, I did this once and I totally put the French hook on backwards. So if that happens, you're just going to have to reopen the jump ring and put the French hook back on. When you wear it, it should dangle so that people can see whatever words you've done. If you want to be extra fancy, you could even make it reversible. All right, guys, there you have it.